stuck between a libertarian and a Republican. Welcome to Publitarian Podcast. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. This is Ronald Johnson, Publitarian, coming at you again with another episode of Publitarian Podcast. And what are we up to? Episode number 84 now? Don't have Mr. Announcer Guy with me, so I just had to kind of do my own intro, and I guess that's just how it's going to be. Anyway, rather than delay the podcast for another week, I thought I would do another one of these road shows where I would just record it mobily as I go. So, coming to you live from a random cafe as I share my thoughts and feelings of the day. I made a nice little rhyme there. I don't think it should be a crime there. Oh no. Is this whole podcast going to be rhyming? I hope not. Anyway, thank you for tuning in. And how's everybody enjoying the global pandemic, the scamdemic? How's everybody enjoying the ignited race war? How's everybody enjoying the Civil War? And how is everybody enjoying their free trial of socialism? Everybody enjoying that? Wow. I've never seen... I know everybody tries to draw comparisons and parallels and talk in ways that is, I don't know, hyperbolic about how important this next election is. But I cannot see a more stark contrast between good and evil, right and wrong, sleep and awake, than I am seeing in this upcoming 2020 election. Between Trump and Pence and Biden and Harris, or as Trump did call him, Joe Hayden, in a tweet, and made me laugh, as Donald Trump does a lot of the times with me, makes me laugh with his tweets. The good thing about this, I'm starting to see a lot of people like waking up to this. And I've heard other podcasters talk about this. It's kind of common sense, but common sense really isn't common anymore. Even just leftist Democrats that aren't crazy communists don't want to see their cities burnt to the ground. They don't want to see like rioting and looting and murder and just lawlessness in the streets. And I think the powers that be thought they were going to flip the script somehow and make this Trump's responsibility. And it's not working out. So I think we're going to start seeing the riots dying down. There may be another couple of organized scuffles that are going to happen, but I think they're going to start scaling back because it's starting to murder the Democrats in their polling numbers. And like I said, this should just be common sense, you know? Nobody wants to see their cities burned down. Even black people in these cities don't want to see their cities burned down. It's their cities. It's where they live. It's like when you burn down all these businesses. Like the dummies that don't know how insurance works go, oh, well, they're insured. And somehow the leftists have made the narrative of life being valued over property like successful, which yes, life should be valued over property, but they've made it to where property is zero and life is king. So with this new narrative, somebody can just roll through your house, steal all your shit, burn the house down, and you can't be upset about it because you have insurance. And so, like I said, people don't know how insurance works, how business insurance works. You never get back the actual value of what you've put into something, not to mention the time that you put into something, the sweat equity that you put into something, and that's not yet the emotional, psychological damage, all this stuff that people don't take into account when they so very stupidly say that you have insurance. Anyway, I didn't mean to get on an insurance rant. What I was talking about was the upcoming 2020 election. And as I have been talking since I've been blue in the face about this, about voter fraud, keep shouting it from the rooftops, because there is going to be rampant attempts, at least, at voter fraud. The New York Post put out this exclusive article about somebody that works on the inside that shows people how to successfully execute voter fraud, what they do with the envelopes, how they do the ballot harvesting, how there's postal workers that are involved in this, how there's local government officials that are involved in this. How many actual legitimate elections have we had? I don't know. When I think about all the voter fraud that happens, I really see like the leftists as still this paper tiger, because they are seen as this great majority because they yell the loudest and censor the hardest. But their ideology is still a minority. You just can't tell, because like I said, they're shouting the loudest and censoring all other dissenting voices. So I'm thinking about election outcomes and how all these other elections that have been either stolen, not even just from the Republicans, just from like common sense Americans. Because as we know, like Republicans don't always have the answers to this, but good Lord, if you're going to vote D versus R, I mean, it's not even a contest anymore, especially in this upcoming election. It's got to be just straight ticket R. Because like I've said before, 50-50 shot that you'll get a Republican that's a Republican, almost 100% shot you'll get a Democrat that acts like a Democrat. The exception of Vernon Jones and like a couple that have like jumped ship recently because of the madness that they're seeing, that anybody that's not suffering from cognitive dissonance can see. Now, where I'm at in the penis of America in Florida, it's kind of a unique county I'm in. It's kind of a purple county. You never know how it's going to go, but there's people that have had their Trump signs stolen. I am starting to see more Biden signs. I'm not too worried about that because, like I said, it's a purple county. This particular county went red in the 2016 election, and I don't know. It's always a toss-up. I'm hoping that all of these stunts that the Democrats have pulled will start to wake people up. But as we know, they have a monopoly on the media, on art, education, entertainment, all the above. They have a monopoly on it. So I'm just hoping people can wake up and see. But, hope doesn't always change. So I'm asking you guys to be active as well in this election season. Talk to people, get involved. And I've said this a billion times, be a poll watcher. If you don't have, an 8-to-5 job, or even if you could volunteer in the evenings or sometime, be some kind of poll watcher for this upcoming election season, because there are going to be shenanigans. And let me just paint a scenario for you. After all of the election shenanigans, let's say Trump wins. Okay, so from November 4th until when does the Electoral College meet? December 14th, I think. There's going to be shenanigans, lawyers, ballots that have been found in people's trunks with the correct postmarked date, because they have to be postmarked, November 3rd. And all of these magical ballots are going to show up out of nowhere. And, oh, hey, look at all these thousands of people that voted for Biden-Harris. Do not be surprised when this shit starts happening. Like the Republican revolutionary in me just wants to scream, oh, Trump's going in. Trump is going in no matter what. But I don't know if we're to that point yet. It's scary that I'm even thinking that way, but I'm trying to prepare everybody for the shenanigans that are going to come. Unless Trump wins in an absolute electoral and popular vote landslide, it's not going to go away. I think he'll have an electoral landslide. I'm not sure about the popular vote. Hillary won by 3 million popular votes. We've already found that a lot of those votes were fraudulent, originating from LA County, New York, places like that. So if Trump would have to handily win in both landslides, electoral and popular, and I don't know if that's possible given the makeup and the shenanigans of our electoral process right now. If he does, we might be able to skirt that issue, but I do not. I don't see the Democrats going gently into that good night. Sorry, taking a sip of coffee. So I just wanted to prepare you guys for what's going to be coming up. Again, I'm not looking at my podcast notes or anything. I just thought I would shoot from the hip and get this recorded and get some kind of content to you. I've got to get better at recording the weekly podcast. I almost kicked around the idea of doing a daily podcast. That way I can do more news and keep people updated. I really don't know if there would be an interest in it or not. If I switch to a daily podcast, I would have to do something like a Patreon or something like that, where I'm like offsetting my time financially somehow, because my time is limited as it is. But I do think this fight is important, so I try to at least bring this weekly podcast and get you guys informed, but also give you a different perspective, because the perspective that I think I bring is unique, because, as I've said before in previous podcasts, if I have to pick a donkey or an elephant to ride into battle, yes, I'm going to ride the elephant into battle, rah rah Republican. But at the same time, I don't have any kind of like blind loyalty to the party either, and I will always shoot you guys straight. I will always be 100% truthful on this podcast, unless I've been misled or misinformed. But I really try and give like as non-biased analysis of this stuff as I can when I'm doing news and politics and things like that. It's hard to be non-biased though with this, like I said, with this upcoming election, because I've never seen such a stark contrasted difference between the two parties and the two candidates, between, I'll say, Trump and Harris. Biden's just a shell. I don't know what's going to happen. There's some theories with Biden. One being that he's going to magically claim coronavirus in September, and then he'll have to be quarantined, and that'll bypass him from the debates. So I think that's why he's coming out strong now and going, "Oh yeah, man, I'll debate, anytime, anywhere, bruh." And but look, he's a freaking clown show. God, I don't even want to say that, but I have no editing abilities right now, so clown show is out there in the ether. I mean, yes, he's a clown show, but I feel bad for him right now, and I know you guys are like screaming at your phones and at your listening devices and going, "Ronald, how could you feel bad for Joe Biden?" I don't know. I've got an aunt that's like suffering, starting to get like the dementia, the slow decline, and I see the same things that I'm seeing in Biden, and it's sad. His family and the people that are running his campaign should have already like pulled the plug. I don't know what they're thinking. I mean, pull the plug on his election. I don't like life support or anything. They really already should have. Nobody should have to be like going through that. He needs to be like, at his house, relaxing or doing something like that. The political game is past for him. He's been doing this for almost 50 years. Even if he was 100% cognizant, he's got nothing left to offer. It's been almost 50 years, Joe. As other people have said, if he would have had the answers to the world's problems, we would have hoped after 50 years he would have already implemented them. Of course, he's a part of the swamp. He's a big reason that a lot of black people are incarcerated still. His entire record is nothing but just falsehood, plagiarism, and just playing politics as usual. He'll have zero to offer the people. I think a lot of African Americans, a lot of black people are waking up to this finally, especially after some of his disastrous interviews. And Kamala Harris is also an empty suit. She'll vote however the polls tell her to vote. That's one of the things I like about Trump. He just does what his gut tells him. Now, of course, he will listen to the people, but that's the difference. He's not listening to polls. He's listening to people. He'll go out at these rallies, or he'll go to an area that's been devastated, and he'll actually talk to people, listen to people, and listen to what they're telling him. And it's very unique for a politician to do that. I mean, I don't want to call him a politician, even though he's president. The wrap-up of the RNC, that was really good. Unfortunately, it was tarnished by an organized riot outside of Antifa and BLM. A lot of people got accosted outside. Vernon Jones won, a black Democrat politician that went to this thing, got shouted down and harassed. A lot of Rand Paul. Funny enough, one of the rioters was yelling in Rand Paul's face with the "say her name" stuff with Breonna Taylor, not knowing that Rand Paul was actually the author of the Breonna Taylor Act. He's the one that's trying to get rid of no-knock warrants, even though the police didn't do a no-knock warrant. They had a no-knock warrant, but they didn't do a no-knock warrant. But anyway, I don't want to get off on the whole Breonna Taylor crap. So anyway, they're yelling at him to say her name and all this stuff, and I'm like, guys, he's the author of the bill. You're yelling at the wrong person. But they don't know. They only know their marching orders. They only know what they're told. These are paid operatives. Project Veritas has shown that again and again in hidden footage, that they pay these people, they show up in buses, they show up in planes, they're very organized, and they're meant to look like this organic mob, and they'll mix in with the peaceful protesters, and things will turn ugly. It's like rinse, repeat. You see it happening all over the country. So anyway, I just wanted you guys to think about this election, really think about talking to people, trying to red pill people. You won't be able to change everybody's mind. A lot of people are still suffering from cognitive dissonance because media has saturated their brains for decades of how the world is, and the world's really not that way. So when something challenges their worldview, they fall apart. And that's a lot of what you're seeing now, cognitive dissonance. And so you won't be able to red pill everybody, but I would say try your best and, talk to family and friends. Make sure they're voting. Get them to the polls. If they're crazy leftists, don't try and get them to the polls. They're just going to vote Democrat or throw their vote away on JoJo. So anyway, I think that will do it for this edition of Puppetarian Podcast. I had, like I said, I had notes, but I thought I would just make this organic and talk to you guys just from where I'm at a random cafe. If I say what cafe I'm at, liberals will come firebomb the place, and I don't want that for these people. I don't think I'm a big enough name for that to happen, but you never know. The left is crazy. They've shown themselves such. The left is so crazy that people that were crazy leftists are now just like common sense in the middle people. That's how crazy the left has gotten. And I know you've seen the video of the 1959, the guy from 1959 spelling out communism and how communism can win in the West. And I swear, if you guys haven't seen this, look it up. Just search for like 1959 talks on communism, because I can't remember the guy's name now off the top of my head, but it is like a bullet point, almost point for point match of what's happening now. Like micro breakdown, racial breakups, pit all classes, all races, all ethnicities against each other, form little microcosms. It's crazy. It's crazy how like spot on this guy was. So the left's playbook hasn't changed. They're just really good at emotionally manipulating people, and that's where we have failed for so long. But we're starting to get a handle on it. I'm starting to see more content now that makes an emotional appeal as well as factual. And I realized I just started ranting again after I said I was going to wrap up the podcast. But I'm really encouraged by seeing people come up with a content for our side of the aisle now that has like an emotional appeal and an entertainment appeal, as well as facts and data and logic. So yeah, good for us. But be mindful, like I said, I think this 2020 election season is just gonna be a shit show. So buckle up, and let's Trump has this like way decisive victory for electoral and popular, just buckle up for the shit show. It's gonna happen. Just stay involved, get people involved, and keep sharing the information, and hopefully we can red pill some more voters. Anyway, now that will do it for me on this edition of Publitarian Podcast. If you want to reach out to me, you can. I'm publitarian@gmail.com or thepublitarian@gmail.com. I'm on all the social medias. I'm on Gab. I'm on Minds. I'm on Parler. I'm on Instagram. I'm on all of them. So anyway, you guys take it easy, and I'll see you next time on Publitarian Podcast. Listening to the Publitarian Podcast. Copyright 2020.